I couldn't, like, for the life of me, I couldn't gather the motivation. I couldn't gather the consistency, the energy, nothing. Like, I was forced to just chill out and have a seat. Hi, I've missed you guys. For those of you who are new, I'm B with Elevation 44, where we discuss all things astrology, spirituality, life, whatever. So I've been gone for 2 months-ish, and I needed the break, but I am back, and I want to share some info, some thoughts that I had on 2023, and I've really been diving a lot into numerology. So outside of just, you know, looking at astrology and looking at the planets and the energies and stuff like that, numerology is also one thing that I've been pulled or called to a lot lately as well. So I want to discuss all the things, and you know, on this channel I want to discuss whatever is relevant and whatever I feel called to share. So I don't want to necessarily always put it in the box of astrology. Okay, so with that said, this video shouldn't be too long. I want to dive right into 2023 and the 7 year, and the 7 year meaning, the universal meaning for the 7 year. To find out the universal year, you take the year's digits, so 2023, and you would add all those digits up individually until you get a number, right? So you have 2 plus 2 is 4, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's how we got the number 7, as it being a 7 year for us collectively. Now, if it ever was like a double digit, so let's say the number came up to, I don't know, let's say 23, you would then take that 2 plus 3 and then always drill it down into a single digit number. So just the rule for that. So we have something called the universal year, and that's my computer going off, but we have something called the universal year. Then we also have something called our personal years. Now, our personal year is taking that number for that universal year, which is 2023, which is 7, then adding your birth month and your birthday onto that. And that's how you find out your own personal year. And that also has a significant impact. So the personal year number is going to affect you more, I would say, and the universal year number is going to be like the overall themes for the collective that you can see happening kind of on a larger scale, right? I just came out of a 7 year. So I'm transitioning out of that 7 year energy. So that's why I thought it was best for me to really come in and talk about 2023, because I am fresh off this energy and I understand it, okay? Which is some of the reason why I was missing for so long and kind of like slowed down a lot in 2022 in terms of the content that I was putting out and what I was doing. I just kind of like took a couple steps back, and then you'll understand why when we get into this, okay? So the 7 year is really all about diving inwards. It's exploration, but it's internal exploration. It's about your internal landscape, understanding self-awareness. Like, you spend a lot of time in reflection, in introspection. It could be it feels very seclusive. And what you can see as themes are people sharing the fact that, you know, they're not really focused more so on the external. They're kind of going more inwards and kind of trying to discover self a little bit deeper, a little bit better, right? It's very self-focused, right? This is also a number that invokes the spirit of rest. It invokes learning, planning. So people might be diving more into really being curious about certain things, mastering certain things in terms of knowledge, just diving into understanding and like taking apart something in terms of concepts, and just really getting into more understanding, self-awareness, but also understanding of all kinds of knowledge and learning in general, because it's what you learn now that you get to implement later that, you know, creates changes or success, right? That's what fuels what, you know, you do later. So this is a period of learning for the collective, learning about ourselves and also learning about others around us, but it's done more so internally and quietly, okay? It's also a year of planning for what's to come in the future, the changes that are going to come. So there's a lot that's going to happen in terms of shifts. And when we talk about the astrological movements that are happening in 2023, there are some big shifts getting ready to happen with some of the planets and the energy. This year, you're going to see the collective really getting into those themes of really taking care, like self-care, and just like the values of the things that once were more alluring and appealing are now shifting to things that are more internally satisfying. Okay, so it's a very spiritual based energy that you might see as themes ringing through the collective. People who were once like partying and just hanging out are now wanting to like do things that are more like fulfilling. So what we value collectively will be changing. It's going to be different in terms of simplicity. It's not going to be so much more externally focused. It's a little bit more internal this time. Patience. We need patience during this 7-year. Why? Because me coming off of my 7-year, I can tell you it can feel very frustrating because things move slowly. It's supposed to move slowly. It's supposed to force you to sit down and rest. So with that, those of us who are used to running, right, we get frustrated, okay? Because like sometimes you're like, okay, cool, I'll take the rest, right? Like I'll give an example. Like for me personally, a lot of you, if you've been following my channel for a while, know that I left my place of employment I want to say early 2022, like it was like end of March, early April. And I intentionally said I was going to rest and take some time off and relax. And then at a certain point, you know, a couple months went by, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like really get out there, integrate, and, you know, do the things, right? I thought I would just be able to pick up after like a little bit of time and just, you know, get to work and do the things that I always did and be, you know, just out there in the way that I always did. And I couldn't, like for the life of me, I couldn't gather the motivation. I couldn't gather the consistency, the energy, nothing. Like I was forced to just chill out and have a seat. And I didn't really get the full totality of it until towards the end of the year when I was like, I am made to chill out because this is my time of really thinking about what I want. This is the time that I'm supposed to be learning the skills, the different things that I need, planning for what I want to do, because when that 8-year comes around, it's go time. It's time to implement. It's time, you're fully rested. It's time, there's no excuse at that point, right? So this is what I'm telling you. Like it can feel very frustrating if you're not used to that kind of energy. If you're not used to learning how to rest, you're going to learn collectively how to rest and just chill out in moments during a 7-year. Another thing with the 7-year is a testing of faith. So we can be seeing some type of collective testing in terms of like, there's usually a challenge or something that comes up to like, just test your faith and see where you are. And you're gonna see people, you know, express emotions probably in a way that you haven't seen before. I think we're gonna all be a lot more sensitive, a lot more empathetic, especially as we are diving into our own internal landscape and having self-awareness and understanding ourselves more. It's gonna help us understand others more and have like that awareness of them as well. And then the empathy, like knowing that we are, you know, not perfect and we are works of art in terms of like being able to say that we have these flaws and, you know, we are, you know, working on different things and, you know, improving. And that gives us the compassion and the empathy for somebody else when we see them struggling or acting out in a way or doing something, because we know that it's coming from a place internally like, hey, you know, I'm no different than them. Like I've got my own issues and my own stuff that I'm working out as well. So definitely the sensitivity. I cried for an entire month in 2022. I cried for the entire month of May, I want to say. Every single day I would cry, and it was not like a boo-hoo, I'm depressed or sad. Like I would cry to release every single day in May. And then I would cry for about like 15-20 minutes. And then by the time it was over, I would go on with my day like it was normal. Like it was almost like it was like everything that had been suppressed was just emotionally was just coming up to be released and realized. And, you know, I would look at it and I'm like, okay, now I understand what that is. And then I can release it, right? a lot of that's going to be happening on a collective scale too, in terms of whatever has been suppressed is coming up. And that could be in terms of emotions, that can be in terms of information, secrets, different things like that. Anything like that's in the dark is coming up to the light for air, is coming up to be healed, to be released. It can feel very isolating at times. It could feel like, you know, just lonely because you can get into this state of reclusiveness so much that you kind of tune out the outside world. And yes, tuning out the outside to a certain degree is necessary, but you know, too much, then you can see themes of loneliness or waves of depression because people feel, you know, like just kind of disconnected in terms of the things that we need to work on and understanding ourselves. It brings up a lot of things that you have to like face and deal with that you have suppressed or you weren't ready to, you know, face or actually like acknowledge or accept about yourself. So a lot of acceptance comes through this process, but through the process of acceptance, it's like the revealing process. And sometimes that's hard to deal with. Those emotions, the things that you've done, the review of the things that you feel like, man, I could have been better in this way, or I can't believe I did it like that. And now I see it from this way. And you know, but just realize that we are all on this journey of learning and growth, and we're all making mistakes because that's how we learn. So I just want to just show you that it's not just you. We're all dealing with something, and then have compassion for yourself and don't beat yourself up in those moments and don't lock yourself away. So let's talk about some of the major astrological movements that are going to be happening in 2023. And a lot of like outer planet shifts are happening. Oh my gosh, between now and 2026, like there's a lot of big energetic shifts in terms of these outer planets. So Saturn is moving into Pisces on March 7th, okay? And it's going to be there through 2026. So there's a lot of lessons and learning that's happening on the internal. So this is actually tying into what I'm saying with the universal 7-year, where the internal landscape is going to be huge. That's going to be the main focus, okay? So versus the external, we're focusing more internally. So a lot of lessons learning, because that's what Saturn does. Saturn brings lessons and really gets you to take responsibility for things. And it's all about, you know, that energy that makes you just get it together, okay? So a lot of that's going to be happening on that type of level internally. There's disappointment can occur, but it's only at the cost of refusing to listen to your intuition, right? Refusing to do the things that you're being called or intuitively led to do. So that's where the disappointment or the loss or the different things can come in, is through that lens. Sacrifices may be called upon, like you may have to make personal sacrifices in this time in order to see gains later, okay? So those are things that can be coming up as Saturn moves into Pisces. Your sensitivity, your overall empathy is going to be heightened, again tying into some of the themes I talked about with 7. And also in turn, in addition, like in turn, what you will get in exchange is your creativity, your imagination, your whole internal world is going to be colored. So a lot of artistic works, because Saturn is also about our contribution and our work and what we do out here, a lot of the work that is being done internally, we're going to see that happen or take, there's going to be something external as a result of like all of the internal things that are happening. So I expect to see, while Saturn is in Pisces, a lot of creative artistic works coming out of the collective. On March 23rd, Pluto is moving into Aquarius. Now this is big, and I know that we've been already feeling the shift of this energy, because the energy doesn't necessarily shift as the planet moves that same day, right? It really, you start to feel, especially these outer planets that move so slow, once they're on the last couple degrees of a sign and they're moving towards another sign, you're already starting to feel that impact, right? So with Pluto moving into Aquarius, we've been feeling that for a little bit. Now it'll be there only briefly. It's going to be there for about 3 months, then it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, and then in 2024 it's going to be full on Aquarius for the next 12, 13 years, however long it's going to be there. It's there for a long time. Pluto stays in a sign for a very long time. So again, this is about generational impact. What themes can we see generationally? All right. So freedom, liberation, interdependence, which means not just becoming independent where I don't need you, but I am able to stand on my own, you're able to stand on your own, but we work together to help each other. And you're gonna see a lot of use of technology in all endeavors. So we're gonna be really putting technology to use to help us really advance in a lot of really cool ways. I know people talk about there's the flip side to technology that could be negative, but we're not gonna focus on that. Yes, there can be a positive and negative to any situation, but there can be a lot of advancement in terms of how we use technology to help push us forward as a collective. All right. The other thing that's happening is Jupiter is going to be moving into Taurus in May, on May 16th, right? It's joining Uranus there, and we know that Jupiter, whatever it touches, it expands. So while Uranus is still doing its shakeup and stuff in Taurus, Jupiter coming in might expand some of that energy. Jupiter will also bring its own energy in terms of like an increase in abundance or influx of different things and resources, money. We might see just different things just like that we're surprised about pop off and shake. We also might see extremes of things like droughts or floods or big losses, or so it could be big wins and big losses on both sides, and resources of all sorts, earthly resources, money, material possessions, all kinds of things like that. So keep your eyes open to see what Jupiter does in the sign of Taurus. Okay. And then we have Mercury retrogrades this year happening in Earth signs. These Mercury retrogrades happening in Earth signs really force us to think about the things that we want and what we want to work towards. What's worth it to us and what are we willing to work for? And it makes us go into review about that. And then lastly, we have the preview of the eclipses in Aries and Libra, okay? Because we've been experiencing them last year in Taurus and Scorpio. We will still have that Taurus and Scorpio energy, but the nodes are moving into Aries and Libra, which is shifting the focus about us really gaining our own confidence, our sense of independence, our sense of taking action, not being so much codependent or so people pleasing or so just blending in with the crowd, really standing up, having our own identity, and just going after the things that we want and having the confidence to go after that and to take action. So a lot of the themes with those eclipses, we're just going to get a little preview of it because we have a solar eclipse in Aries, and then we have another solar eclipse in Libra later in the year. We will get to see a kind of a preview of what's to come in terms of that type of energy. But it's actually all pretty exciting in terms of the shifts and the things that are happening. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. I'm sure you guys are tuning in as well. And let me know in the comments down below if you're pretty excited for me to kind of dive into the personal year numbers, because they really have a big impact aside from the astrology. Looking at that numerology is huge, and it really helped me make sense of what I was going through during some really tough times, I would say, where I was frustrated and struggling with myself. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I again missed you guys so much, and I hope to bring more videos. But be patient with me because I am human too, and the intent is always to just share what I'm called to share. So I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.